Here we go. Good afternoon, Facebook. This is Teresa B. coming from Amplified Exposure. I have with me today Dr. Mathew Knowles. He is an author. I got a whole list. Let me read it. He is an author. He's a college professor. He's a record executive. He's a music producer, record producer, talent manager, founder of World Entertainment, and he is a recipient of the Century Award of Excellence from Omega Phi Psi. How you doing today, Dr. Knowles?
I'm doing great, trying to keep the steam out of my glasses right here. That's Omega Psi Phi, my frat brothers. We got to get that right. Omega Psi Phi.
Did I say it right?
No, you said it reverse. Omega Psi Psi.
Omega Psi Phi. And I can't hold up the sign. You have to do that for me since I'm not a member.
Yeah, all my dogs out there. George Clinton just recently became an Omega. So he has our theme song, so it's only befitting that he is a member of Omega Psi Phi.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've been reading some of your literature that you have a whole bunch of best-selling books out that I wanted to talk to you about, along with all the other stuff that I have listed, but I know we're short for time, so I'll try to sum it up as the best I know how. But you are an author of The DNA Achievers, Racism from the Eyes of a Child. And then, of course, you have Destiny's Child, The Untold Story, and Emancipation of Slaves Through Music. The book that stuck out for me mostly was Racism from the Eyes of a Child. I know that you grew up in Alabama, and I'm from Boston, so I know exactly how some of the things you could have encountered growing up in Alabama. I did live in Alabama for 2 years because my mother was military. So tell us about that experience and how you came to write that book.
Well, I'm just curious, was it Fort McClendon? Is that where you were?
She was in Birmingham, but she was traveling back and forth to Fort McClendon. So yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm very familiar with Fort McClendon. Growing up for me in Gaston, Alabama, I have to give a little context. My mother went to high school at Coretta King in a little small town, Gaston's small, but a smaller town, Marion, Alabama. And when she moved to Gaston, she really took up the torch for desegregation. And as a result of that, I never went to a Black school until my junior year of college when I attended Fisk. So I was one of the first in every aspect of education all the way through in Gaston, Alabama. Sometimes it was 6 of us, 6 Black young kids and 1,000 white kids. Even at University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, it was 48 Black students and about 15,000 white students. I've been beaten, Teresa. I've been spit on. I've been electric prodded. I've been called every name you can imagine so that we can have the rights that we're seeking. And it's very offensive to me, extremely offensive to me when someone doesn't, especially someone Black and brown, does not exercise their right to vote. Very offensive to me because I've seen people die for that right.
Yes, I take that seriously as well. I'm actually on a voting committee that comes to North Carolina. I'm in Durham, and the polls seem to always, something happens when it's time to vote. And our votes are never put in on time. So I've joined a committee that actually comes here and they try to fix that problem because it's all throughout the state. But I'm offended with you as well. So we are eye to eye on that.
And then lastly, I'll just share, and I think this is important to your viewers. I grew up in Gaston, Alabama until I was 15 years old on a dirt road with an outside outhouse, we used to call them. That's my humble beginnings. My parents were not educated. My mother went to the 11th grade with Coretta King. My dad only went to the 3rd grade, but these were good Black people. My parents were my first mentors because they had day jobs, but they were entrepreneurs. And they told me that I could always dream, and I could dream whatever the impossible dream was.
Mm. So I read in your bio that immediately after college, you started going into the field of sales. Did you see a lot of discrimination at that time?
Well, yes. Well, we have to look at the time period. We're talking 1978.
Okay.
1978. I've always been one of the first. So it was the same in my corporate experience. One of the first at Xerox, and then I got promoted to the medical division of Xerox. And then I was fortunate 8 years. 3 of those years, I was the #1 sales rep worldwide in the medical division of Xerox. Then I went 5 years into with Philips Medical Systems, selling MRI and CT scanners and being one of the first Black, if not the first Black to sell MRI in America. And then went on to Johnson & Johnson to be a neurosurgical specialist. So oddly enough, my corporate life mirrored my childhood of being one of the first and being a trailblazer all throughout my life.
Right. Yes, you are definitely a trailblazer. You have achieved a lot, and you have set the pathway for little people like me. So tell me about, you are a college professor. Is that at Prairie View A&M? Is that correct?
Yes, I'm a proud college professor at Prairie View A&M this semester, next week, actually. I teach sports, event, and entertainment marketing. And I alternate every semester teaching entrepreneurship. I'll also be next semester at University of Houston. There's a music business class that I'll be teaching online as well. So I'm very proud, and I lecture all over the world. Lectured at Harvard, Cornell, Alabama A&M. I can go on and on. Howard. It's one of my passions to educate and to motivate in the field of entrepreneurship and music business. See, I can say my passion. I don't have to think about it.
Right.
And we'll talk more about passion.
Right. And I know that was your motto on your website. You said your mission in life is to motivate and educate, and that's awesome. So tell me about becoming a record executive. What year did you start that process?
Well, when you get my age, you can't really go to the specific year. We'll just say early 90s. Okay. And the reason I got into the medical field, I always like to, at this point in my life, to just correct his story. His story is spelled history. So if you break down history, to me, it's really his story. And I think Black people are finding more and more what we thought was history was really his story. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling my story. His story has it that I left Xerox. Well, you already heard that I had 10 more years after Xerox in corporate America. But his story will have you to believe that I left for Beyonce to get in the medical field. A lie. What happened, as the kid said, what really happened was
what happened was
but after 20 years, and I had set a goal. Anyone know me? I'm a very strategic person. I believe in goal setting. I set a goal of 20 years in corporate America, and it was almost a year before a defining moment in managed care. That's when you go to the hospital, doctor. Now insurance companies tell us what can be spent and what can't, and how much. And that managed care happened, and a neurosurgeon called me to his office and said he couldn't use my instruments anymore, Teresa. And he said it was because his surgical procedure was the highest in a hospital, and he had to reduce that cost. And I understood that. And that's when I knew that was a defining moment, because I had no more passion for being in corporate America at that point. And I had to start looking at what is my passion? what is the thing that excites me? That I started just really pondering over that, and I love music. I took piano lessons as a kid, in a choir as a kid. I always loved music to the point that I, on Sundays, would DJ for my parents. We'd go into the living room. See, Teresa, when I tell this story to white people, they don't quite understand. But I would go into the living room, and they had the plastic all over the furniture.
Mm-hmm.
See, Teresa, when I say that, you understand that. But when I say that,
my mother had plastic on her furniture till 2000. She had the same living room set since the 70s.
There you go. So you get it. A lot of you listening and watching get it. And so they would go into that living room, and in the dining room was a record player, and I would put on the vinyl every Sunday. And to the point that I knew my dad's mood, because he could really dance, and he didn't want the needle to scratch. And so I had a nickel, dime, and quarter to put on top of the needle. So what we call playlists today, not realizing it, when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, I was doing playlists and DJing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I got into the music industry, but I didn't jump into it. And I want that lesson to be, I transitioned out of corporate America. I did planning. I didn't just one day say, I'm quitting. Mm-hmm. And in that process, I went back to school, and I took music business courses and all sorts of music courses, even production. And at that time, I went to every seminar that they were giving in the music business. If I could get there, I would drive, fly, however I could get there. And so I then transitioned, but at the same time, Beyonce's Girls Time was the name of the band that ultimately became Destiny's Child. Her and Kelly was in this band. They lost on Star Search, and those of you too young to know, that's like American Idol today. They lost on that. And all of this happened, it's sometimes divine intervention. It all happened around the same time. And that's how I got in the music industry. And my first artist that I got signed to a record deal was not Destiny's Child. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Because his story would lead you to believe that it was Destiny's Child. My story is what really actually happened. It's a rapper who's still in Houston named Lil O. And I signed him to MCA Records, which in the late 90s was the #1 for Black music. They had Mary J. Blige, Puffy, Jodeci. I can go on and on and on. They were it. And so he was signed there. His first single, I convinced his record label to put another record label's artist who nobody knew, named Destiny at the time. And for those of you, if you like to hear that, you can go to YouTube and see Can't Stop by Lil O. And you'll see it features Destiny, and who's now Destiny's Child. And that was their first video, was on another one of my artists' video. So you see how his story has it really wrong?
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why I wrote Destiny's Child, The Untold Story, because I want to tell my story.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. Yes, that is not public knowledge. So thank you for sharing that with us.
It is public knowledge. All you have to do is get the book. The book is public.
Yeah, in the book.
The book is public.
Well, yes. Well, you know what I mean, Dr. Knowles. Like, not that public, but, Wikipedia public.
All right, I got you.
So when did music become your passion?
I think when I in elementary school. I went to a Catholic elementary school, and, we were singing every day, half of the day. And that's when I got in the choir. I did the solo of Oh Holy Night. That was a big deal. So I just grew up, again, my parents loved music. My dad listened to everything from country to blues to R&B. He dressed like a rapper with overalls, boots, and a railroad cap the white T-shirt. That was his look. And I didn't realize that he was a first stage rapper in his dress, but that was his dress pretty much 6 days out of 7.
Wow. So I also read that you helped Shaka Khan, Earth, Wind and Fire. Like, tell us about those other groups that you helped produce music for, because I don't think anyone knows that either.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. You know, and Racism from the Eyes of a Child, I talk about the racism that still exists in the music industry, and the many Black men and women who have benchmarked and did incredible things in the music industry. And it's historical that white music industry get rid of the Black people. When those artists get to their peak, they find a way to get rid of us.
Wow.
All the time. They find a way to get rid of us. And if you just go back to the history. But in 2002, I sold Music World to a UK English-based company called Sanctuary, and I became the president of Music World Sanctuary Urban. On the record side, we had OJ's, Shaka Khan, Earth, Wind and Fire, Dion Ferris, Solange, Michelle Williams, Ray J. Those were my artists. Sunshine Anderson. Those were my artists. And Kool in the Gang. On the management side, we had Mary J. Blige, Nelly, Eve, D12 with Eminem, Floetry, and then all of Mario, Destiny's Child, each one of the ladies individually, Solange, Michelle. See, his story would not want you to know that.
Exactly.
His story would not want you to know that a Black man for the decade of 2000 to 2009 in the entire music industry, excuse me, in the world, his story wouldn't want you to know that for these millions of artists in Billboard magazine, so you can go and check this, Destiny's Child and Beyonce were in the top 10 of artists for the decade, for the whole world. See, his story wouldn't want you to know that a Black man managed and architected their careers.
Wow. And that's why I needed you to be a guest, because I needed you to tell your story.
Thank you.
Let's forget about his story. We'll just do your story.
Thank you. I like that.
So let's see what else you got going on. You 450 million records sold. So
that's a lot of records.
That's a lot of records. So although there was racism, and although you had some struggles getting to your final destination, you showed people that a Black man can make 450 million record sales. That's amazing.
Well, Teresa, I'm a very humble man, and I'm very grateful for my success and all of those who helped along the way. But you did hear me say that 3 years out of 8 at one of the top corporations in the world, Xerox, that I was the #1 sales rep worldwide 3 out of 8. So why would it be a surprise, my success in the music industry?
Well, it's not a surprise, but that's just a lot of numbers.
But being the #1 sales rep in the world is more numbers than those numbers.
And those numbers, exactly. Yeah.
And you're a Black man in the early 80s. That's the
key. That's the key, because you're an African American male. Like, if we were talking about a Caucasian man, they'd be like, oh, because they would expect that, right? If he was in Sony or some of the other record places. But we're talking about an African American male who made history that no one can take away, and he's here to tell his story. I'm just saying.
I love you.
I'm just saying. And you had 100 award-winning platinum and gold albums. The genres reach from pop, R&B, gospel. Tell me about the gospel, because I heard in another interview that you completed recently that you actually helped out Sunday's Best. Did you have something with that production?
Yeah, I did. I did not help them out. For 4 years, we were the partners with Sunday Best for all of the winners. Similar to American Idol, they have a record label that everyone who gets to the finals and semifinals are signed automatically to. So we had 4 seasons, and we are fortunate and grateful. We had Leandria Johnson, who in the late 2019, I think it was 2016, she was the number one gospel female artist in the world. And she also won a Grammy with her single Jesus. Are you beginning to hear this number one stuff coming up quite a bit?
One all the way from an African American male who is, I can't do the sign, you got to do it for me, Omega.
Woo!
And I was about to mess it up again too. Omega Psi-Phi.
Woo!
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. See, I went to Sunshine Anderson School. I am a graduate of North Carolina Central University, for all of you that are out there.
All right. You sure did.
From my favorite school. So I saw
we
the
had
dogs stomping around.
So we had Leandra, we had Trinity 5-7, who I hate saying it, but the number one contemporary gospel trio in the history of music. Destiny's Child is the number one best-selling female pop and R&B group in the history of music. And so we had Trinity. We did 5 or 6 albums with them. We had just a number of gospel artists. We built a top gospel artist, and we had a great run with our gospel label.
Wow. You've done a lot, Dr. Knowles. And I also recorded that it's 28 years in the business. Is that correct?
I stopped counting at 25, but that sounds right. That sounds right.
Well, good. I don't want my numbers to be off. So with all of these things that you've done, what's next?
What's next is Music World Film and TV.
Okay.
We're literally negotiating to sell our music catalog, and we have 5 projects in film. 3 of my books, we have film deals working. One of them is confirmed. So the emancipation of slaves through music, racism from the eyes of the child, and Destiny's Child, the untold story. By the way, you left out a book, Media and Public Relations in a Digital Age.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have that on my list, but I will surely add it. So we have several people that are watching us right now, and let's see if they have any questions for you. This is the best thing about this platform, because they can talk to you.
I love questions.
So let's see what we got. Share. We have Brent Gaskins. He said, "Salute, Mr. Knowles." And we need to correct you, Brent. That's Dr. Knowles to you, okay? Charles D. Clark said,
"It works. Either one works for me. Either one works.
I'm just being silly."
Yeah.
Charles D. Clark, phenomenal. There was somebody that commented on my HBCU. There's someone that said her Italian family growing up had plastic coverings too. So that's not just in the African American community. Let me see. A lot of people said blessings. When I said the numbers about how many records you sold, someone said, "Wow, that's a lot." Someone said, "All right, frat, whoop whoop."
All right, brother.
And one actor said, "Definitely would love to get on some of those film projects." Another person said you had done some great achievements. And a question, any advice for new and upcoming artists?
I think that's a very good question. Whoever asked that, who asked? You got a name? Who asked that?
Yes, Delphia Daniels. She's one of my classmates from North Carolina Central University.
That's Delphine. That's a great question. You know, my first book. If someone said my favorite, it would. You know, I hate to say favorites, but I enjoy writing that book, The DNA of Achievers, 10 Traits of Highly Successful Professionals. And in it, I interviewed a lot of people. I got the inspiration just from all the many flights and talking to the person. You've done it before. You ask somebody, what do you do? And they give you your earful. And just, I began to realize that these highly successful people had common traits, and it starts with passion. So when someone asks, and all the many people that I've had the opportunity, and I'm grateful to have worked with, the Earth, Wind and Fires, the OJs, you know, Beyonce and Solange, and Destiny Child, most of all of them that were highly successful, and I can almost look at my record label and tell those artists that are average and those that are subpar, they're the ones that are the most problematic, the most arrogant, because successful people are extremely passionate about what they do, and they're extremely humble people with a lot of gratitude. And so to be successful for me in the music industry is not about talent. It's about your passion of your craft. Are you passionate? Do you go to bed at night and wake up in the morning thinking about it? Right. Does it excite and motivate you? That's what I ask first. I don't ask to hear you sing or somebody tell me somebody can sing. I would give a damn about you being able to sing. That equals for me nothing. It's about a total, complete artist that can entertain. So entertaining and singing is two different things. But absolutely, more importantly, are they passionate? And the reason why, Teresa, is because what coexists with passion are work ethics. They coexist. Passion and work ethics. You find somebody that works hard, it's because they're passionate. You know, a lot of people always say, man, Destiny Child worked so hard. Well, they were so very passionate about it. Right. So I look for that first, and then I start looking at the ability to rap or sing. Imaging sometimes come before that. Passion comes first. For female artists, according to the genre of music, imaging comes second, then your ability comes third. Right. But all of that means nothing if you have a whack song. You can have a whole complete package, but a whack song makes all of that package equal whack. So it's about having a great song, but it's also about having a great team, because this is 70% business, 30% music. That's why we call it the music business.
So what do you say to that indie artist that is doing all the marketing and everything on their own? What should they do to show that passion? Where should they go?
Well, I firmly believe that if you know, and many of you know this, if you know someone that is a seamstress, they have the worst clothes. They wear the ragless clothes. You find a hairstylist, their hair is the worst. You find somebody that shines shoes, their shoes are the worst. Mechanic, their car runs the worst.
Terrible. Yes.
You know, trying to be an artist, and I said try, and I seldom use that word because you can't do them both. There's just not enough brain width to be creative all day long. But you're competing against people that do this all day long, 7 days a week.
Right.
That would be like a junior high school player competing against Kobe Bryant. He did that every day, every day.
Right.
You can't part-time do this. And those of you that want to do this part-time, you're wasting your time. We only got 1% that is successful. 1%.
Wow.
So all the people that's talking about, and this is what I want to do, and you know, it's seldom works. I like convincing people to get on the other side of the microphone where you got a better chance. And actually, in some cases, a chance for making more money on the business side. Be a video and creative. Be a video director. You know, be a songwriter. Don't look at just behind a microphone. Look on the other side.
Yeah, that's good advice. Very good advice. One person asked, what is your greatest achievement out of all the things that we talked about?
My without question, Solange and Beyonce, my girls. I mean, that's my greatest achievement as a father, not as a businessman. You know, as a father, to see them happy and healthy, having families, and the greatest achievement that they've done is just being great, wonderful Black women with confidence, that give back to their Black community, that's unapologetic about their Blackness, that's as respectful to a janitor as they would be to the President of the United States. I don't know about this one, but the other presidents.
We don't want to talk about this one.
Yeah.
Someone asked, what type of movies will you be producing? Are they faith-based?
No. It'll be Racism from the Eyes of a Child, the emancipation of slaves through music. One would be on Destiny's Child, Untold Story, and possibly one would be on me. And after that, I'm done. I'm not doing any more music. I don't want to do any more TV. I just want to educate people in the music industry, educate people that want to be successful business people. That's what I want to do. I'm at a part of my life that I don't want to be doing that entertainment anymore. I love academia. I love writing books. I think I have 2 or 3 more books in me. I have a podcast coming out mid-October on iHeartMedia where I can say the things I want to talk about: structural racism, talk about entrepreneurship, health, and wellness. As I'm a cancer survivor, is very important to me as well. Those are the things I want to do. I'm at a point in my life, I'm very, very grateful, very blessed. I don't do a damn thing that I don't want to do. If I didn't want to do this interview, I would have just passed on it. Nobody can force me to do a damn thing I don't want to do.
And let's tell the audience I was passionate because I stalked you for about a month.
And it takes that. I mean, if you want something, you have to go for it. And hearing no is part of the process. Know that. Hearing no, that's part of the process. Because when we make mistakes, don't accomplish our goals, those are opportunities for all of us to become better, to grow from those mistakes, not accomplishing our goals, having some failures in our life. That's what makes us grow, not success. I've never grown from being successful. I grow when I make a mistake. In anything I do, if I'm speaking, I make a mistake. I'm teaching, if I'm writing, then I learn.
Right. Well, I thank you for your yes. I am honored and blessed for you to be here on my show. This is so amazing. And I will play this 50 times before I go to bed tonight. So
wow, thank you. Thank you, please.
And I'm still gonna stalk you. I'm not done. I'm still gonna stalk you.
Well, I want you to push quid pro quo, as we say in business. I want you to, when I start my podcast, I'm gonna ask you to come on, and I want you to tell your audience to come listen to my podcast. That's how it works in business.
Wow, that would be so amazing. I would be so honored to do that. Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't make me cry on this live. Dr. Knowles.
Your ratings will go up if you cry.
Let me put up your website so people can know where to reach you.
Cry a little bit for us, Teresa. Come on.
No, look, if I start crying, I can't stop now. We got to do better. We got to do better.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give you something to make you cry. This is the most important election in our lifetime. Everybody that's looking at this. We lose this election, all of our lives change drastically.
Yes, we will all be crying.
Black people. And if we don't understand that and know the reason why the current president is in office is because millions of Black people who voted for Obama did not vote in the last election. So it's our fault. Stop being a damn victim. Take responsibility. We're the reason why this president is in, because if we had voted the same numbers, he would have lost. Exactly. So Black Lives Matter is way more than just protesting.
Did you do any protesting?
My health won't allow me. I can't afford to get the coronavirus because I'm a cancer survivor.
Right.
I have to be very, very careful. I support and I applaud young people. I applaud you so much for what you did, but you must understand. You're talking to someone who protests, who got electric prodded, who got beaten. So I think I know a little bit about that. It's way, way more than just that. Black Lives Matter first has to start with, as Black people, other Black people lives matter. And through that is the love and the support and the happiness when we see another Black man or woman successful, or the fact that we want to do business with another Black business.
Right.
That has to be a part of Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
And exercise our right to vote.
Yes. So I did a show with a voting person that's in the committee I told you about. He came on and I had less than 70 viewers because no one was interested in talking about voting. So I'm so glad that you are putting it out there right now, because we have over hundreds of people watching us, and now we can speak to voting. So I appreciate you for doing that.
Well, it's not a topic that a lot of young Black people want to hear. They much rather be entertained. But go ahead. It won't affect me. But your young people, you lose this election. See what your life end up being.
Yeah. Amen. So if you want to reach Dr. Knowles, he is at MathewKnowles.com. Is there anything else you want to say to the audience before you leave me?
Just live your passion, because I've had the opportunity to watch many people live their passion. I've had the opportunity, extremely grateful to have lived my passion. And when I can tell you, when you live your passion, you never work a day in your life. Can you imagine waking up every day and not going to work? Although you could be at work, but you love it so much, it's not work.
Right. And that's
where I hope your viewers, I hope they can get to that place of living their passion and living that dream, the impossible dream. Because if you don't believe it, damn sure it will never happen.
Right. Yes. And I'm saying this live with Dr. Knowles. This is going to be my last year in education because I'm going to pursue my passion. How about that?
Well, good. I'm glad to. God bless you.
Thank you so much. I don't want you to miss your appointment because I know you only gave me a certain allotted time.
I appreciate that. You have 3 more minutes if you want to ask one last question.
One last question, people. One last question. Going once, going twice. We had people say wonderful interview. People are writing purpose. A lot of amens. Live your passion. Someone said that part. Vote. They talked about our health, our finances.
Let me leave you. We have 2 minutes. Let me just leave you with a story. I love storytelling. I'm an author, right? And a songwriter. So I was going down the escalator at LAX years ago in the 90s. And a nun was at the bottom of the escalator from Mexico. And she had a jar that says, "Give to the missionary." And I'm not judgmental. I gave. And she gave me a card, and it was months before I read the back of the card. And that's what I want to leave people with. The back of that card said, "Pray not for a life free from trouble. Pray for triumph over trouble. For what you and I call adversity, God, the universe, calls opportunity." Think about that. What you and I call adversity, it's really opportunity. So I want people to realize praying that no bad stuff is going to happen just is not realistic. Pray that when it does happen, and it will, that you overcome it. But more importantly, that you see the adversity, from the adversity, the opportunity. When I had diagnosed with cancer, I said, why me? But the opportunity I get to share and save others' lives, that's the opportunity that it gave me. So I like to leave everyone with that. Stop being a victim. Stop being a victim. Be the solution.
Yes. Thank you for telling your story. I so appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.